I showed up for the family reunion. I was the one who paid for it. The place? Completely deserted. Then Mom laughed and said, "Oh, that was yesterday." She added like it was nothing, "We'll bring you some leftovers." I didn't respond, but the next morning the cops said everything I didn't. Honestly, the second I pulled into the lot, I should have known something was off. None of the usual cars. No noise, no familiar chatter. No cousins sneakily smoking near the dumpsters, pretending they weren't being watched. Just nothing. I pulled out my phone to double check. Friday, 7 p.m., Mateos, can't wait to see everyone, the message read. It was from Mom, sent 2 weeks ago. It was Friday. It was exactly 7:02 p.m. I was right on time. Like a fool, I walked in. Cold air hit my face before it faded into soft jazz and the gentle clinking of cutlery. The restaurant wasn't empty, but the private room I had booked and paid for? Locked. Lights off. "Can I help you, sir?" the hostess asked, barely glancing at me. "Yeah, Thompson party? Private dining?" She looked down at the list. "Oh, yeah, that was last night." I stood there stunned. It's tonight. I put down a deposit. I reserved that room." She tilted her head slightly. "Sir, they were here. 16 people. Big cake. Your mom even brought place cards. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" I actually let out a laugh. One of those dry, hollow ones that dies halfway out your throat. "Number, I'm not mistaken." There was a pause. She looked uncomfortable now. "Do you want to call someone?" I didn't bother answering. I was already dialing. The phone rang twice before she picked up. "Hi, sweetie," Mom said, all light and breezy. "Everything okay?" I stared into space. "Where is everyone?" There was a pause. Then came that breathy little laugh she always used when she knew she was wrong, but refused to admit it. "Oh, honey, it was yesterday. We thought you weren't coming. But don't worry, we'll bring you leftovers." I froze. "What?" She said it again, like it was nothing. "It was yesterday. We'll bring you leftovers." I didn't even say goodbye. I just ended the call. No one called back. Not Mom, not Sienna Rhodes, no one. Then a text popped up from Sienna Rhodes. "Elmau, bro, you seriously missed it?" Classic. "Don't worry, we saved you a roll." My hand trembled. Whether from the cold or pure rage, I couldn't tell. I looked over at the hostess. They came. They ate, and they left. She gave a shrug. "Looked like they had a good time," she said. Of course they did. They always seem to when I'm not around. I didn't say another word. No calls, no texts, no angry rants in the family group chat. Just silence. But I didn't drive home either. I sat motionless in my parked car, engine off, staring at my own reflection in the windshield. All I could think about was the bill, the deposit, the car charge, and the 10 unread texts I'd sent Mom 3 days earlier, all confirming the date and time. They knew, every single one of them, and they still went through with it. They made that decision, together. But tomorrow I'd make mine. You'd think the worst part would be being excluded from a family dinner you paid for. But no, that was just the finishing touch on 5 years of emotional garbage. This wasn't some one-off screw-up. They've shut me out before, many times. This was just the first time they didn't even bother to pretend otherwise. I was always the extra, the optional one. Sienna Rhodes, she was the golden child. Bright, talented, just needed a little boost. Me, I was the one who didn't need much, which in their language meant, you get by without affection, so we won't bother giving you any. I still remember when I landed my first real job. I called Mom, proud as hell. Her response? "Great. Now you can finally help your sister with rent." That was the beginning of the spiral. One rent payment turned into a year of rent, then the utility bills, then her dental surgery, then the car insurance, then books for a nursing program she bailed on after one semester. And I never saw a cent of that money again. I kept paying because I believe that's what family does when they love each other. But in my family, love only travels in one direction. And anytime I gently brought it up, I'd get slapped with, "Stop being so transactional. We're family." Or, "Sienna Rhodes is just going through a rough patch, you know that." Or the classic, "You're doing better than her. Why are you keeping score?" I wasn't keeping score. I was just bleeding, and they refused to look at the wound. There was one night, 2 years back, I wired Sienna Rhodes $600 for her dog's emergency vet bill. Later that same day, she posted in Snapscene story, new shoes, fresh nails, some random guy's hand wrapped around a champagne flute. I showed it to Mom. She glanced at it, smirked, and said, "You guys always get so petty about money." Petty. I paid their property taxes last winter after Dad ignored a lien warning from the county. I floated Sienna Rhodes's credit card payments for 6 months when she got laid off, even though I was barely staying above water myself. One Christmas, I emptied out my savings to buy gifts for everyone. What did I get? A framed photo of the family? I wasn't even in it. But none of it, came close to the night I overheard what they really thought of me. That was about 6 months ago. I was crashing at my parents' place for the weekend. Just a few days before that, I'd bailed Sienna Rhodes out again. $1,200 this time because, surprise, she accidentally overdrafted her account. That night, I headed downstairs to grab a glass of water, and that's when I heard them talking in the living room. Sienna Rhodes' voice cut through first. "He's so obsessed with being the martyr. It's actually pathetic." Then Mom chimed in, totally unfazed. "I know, right? He acts like he's some kind of hero just because he covers the bills." And then Dad laughed. "Let him pay. It's not like he's going to find a wife. Might as well make himself useful." I froze in the hallway. Couldn't move. Could barely breathe. Sienna Rhodes's voice came again, smug and sharp. "You know he really thinks we'd fall apart without him?" She snorted. "Please. If he vanished tomorrow, I wouldn't even notice." I didn't walk into that room. I just turned around, went back upstairs, and laid down staring at the ceiling in the dark. The next morning, Mom made pancakes like nothing happened. After that, I cut them off. No more transfers, no more bailouts, nothing. It lasted about 2 weeks. Then right on cue, a text from Sienna Rhodes. "I need help with rent. I'll pay you back. Promise." I ignored it. 2 days later, Mom called. "Sweetheart, Sienna Rhodes is behind on her bills. She's in a really tough spot right now. You know how sensitive she is. Why are you being so cold?" I took a breath and said, "I just can't keep doing this anymore." Her response, "If you're going to punish us for raising you, maybe we shouldn't have bothered." That sentence did something to me, wrecked me more than I admitted out loud. I sent the money later that day. Of course I did. And now, after all of that, they had a reunion dinner. Without me. A dinner I paid for. A time I confirmed. And when I called to ask where everyone was, Mom had the nerve to say, "It was yesterday. We'll bring you leftovers." Leftovers. Like I was some dog. Not a son, not a brother, just a wallet with limbs. I sat in that car outside Luca's table for a long time that night. Didn't cry, didn't yell. Just sat there in the thick, suffocating silence, thinking about all the times I'd been the good one and what it had cost me. But tomorrow? Tomorrow I wasn't going to be good. Tomorrow they'd finally understand what happens when I stop playing my role. And I already knew where I'd begin. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was heartbroken, not even out of anger. I was planning. That dinner at Luca's table cost me $1,740 after tax and tip. 16 people. Appetizers, custom menus, vegan options for Sienna Rhodes's diet, and even wine accommodations for Aunt Linda's allergy. They didn't just forget me. They knew, and they did it anyway. The next morning, I sent one message to the family group chat. "Let's meet at Mom's tonight. 7 p.m., I have something for you." No one asked what it was. Of course they didn't. They never asked me anything. At 6:58 sharp, I pulled into my parents' driveway. They were already inside. Sienna Rhodes was scrolling on her phone. Dad had a beer in his recliner. Mom was fluffing the pillows like we were expecting guests. She looked up with a sugary smile. "Hi, honey. We weren't sure if you'd still be upset." I didn't say a word. Sienna Rhodes glanced up, her face smeared with fake sympathy. "You know we didn't do it to hurt you," she said. "It was just easier for everyone to come Thursday. Most of us have, like, lives." She said that with a straight face. I reached into my bag and placed a thick envelope on the coffee table. Mom asked, "What's this?" I sat down slowly, calmly, and said, "It's a bill." Dad let out a scoff. "A bill for what?" "For the dinner," I replied. "The one you all enjoyed without me." Sienna Rhodes let out a laugh. "You're joking," Sienna Rhodes said. "I'm not," I replied. Mom narrowed her eyes. "Wait, are you actually trying to make us pay you back?" "No," I said, leaning in. "I'm giving you a choice. Because from now on, anything you ask of me comes with an invoice attached." The room went quiet. Then Dad straightened up in his chair. "You need to lose this attitude, son. We're family." "Right," I said. "Family. The same family that deliberately left me out of a reunion I paid for. The same family that's drained me dry, emotionally and financially, for 5 years and counting." Sienna Rhodes rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on. No one made you pay for anything." And that's when something inside me finally snapped. I stood up. "You know what? Fine. Let's talk about all the things no one made me do." I pointed directly at her. "No one made me pay your rent for 2 straight years, or cover your overdrafts, or replace your damn transmission." I turned to Mom. "No one forced me to pay off your back taxes, or fund your birthday cruise because you said Dad forgot, or buy groceries when your knee gave out and you suddenly couldn't walk." Dad's face flushed red. "Watch your mouth." "Oh, I'm just getting started." I reached into my pocket and unfolded a sheet of paper. "I've got a list," I said. "You don't want to hear it? That's fine. But I had to live it." Then came the twist. I pulled a folder out of my bag and tossed it onto the coffee table. Dad snapped, "Now what the hell is this?" I smiled. "Documentation, every bank transfer, every Swift Pay, every pay pebble, every single receipt." Sienna Rhodes snorted. "Wow, you're seriously insane." "No," I said calmly. "I'm protected because I filed a fraud report this morning. Everything in this folder, it's already been submitted." Mom's voice dropped. "What? What are you talking about?" I locked eyes with her. "Last week, I found out someone opened a credit card in my name. The one that paid for an iPhone and a spa day. The same stuff Sienna Rhodes bragged about in that Snap Scene story, pretending it was a gift." Sienna Rhodes froze in place. "I called the credit company," I continued. "They're treating it as identity theft. And the address they gave them. Yours." Sienna Rhodes jumped to her feet. "You've got to be kidding me." "Nope," I said. "And if you think I won't press charges," Mom hissed, "you wouldn't dare." "Try me." That's when the room exploded. Sienna Rhodes screamed, "You're pathetic," Dad shouted. "You'd really send your own sister to jail?" I snapped back. "You want me to keep playing the idiot forever?" Mom burst into tears. "You're tearing this family apart." "No," I said, already heading for the door. "I'm finally walking away from the wreckage." Then came the second twist. Just as I reached the hallway, a quiet voice spoke up. "Miles, my cousin, the one who never says a word at family gatherings. I'd like to pay my share," he said softly, "for the dinner. It's only fair." The room fell silent. Then he added, "I should have said something earlier. But yeah, they planned to leave you out. I was there. I heard them joke about it. Said you'd be too dramatic if you came. I'm sorry." I turned to look at him, and for the first time all night I smiled. "Thanks, hon," I said. Then I walked out. They thought they could keep using me forever. But they forgot something. Even the quiet ones eventually speak. And when we do, we don't whisper. We call the cops. The next morning, at exactly 8:17 a.m., my phone rang. Private number, I picked up. "Hi, is this Ethan Brooks?" a calm voice asked. "Yes. This is Officer Hayes from the local precinct. We're following up on a report of financial fraud tied to a credit card in your name. Your family's address was listed on the application. We'll be visiting the property today to take statements." I paused, then asked, "Do you need me there?" "No, sir," he replied. "You've done your part. We'll handle the rest." I hung up, and for the first time in years, I sat back in silence. Not the empty kind, but the kind that comes when the storm finally breaks. This time, when they opened the door, they wouldn't be facing me. They'd be facing someone they couldn't manipulate, someone they couldn't gaslight, because for once I didn't have to say a word. The police were speaking for me. I used to think silence meant peace, but sometimes silence brings chaos. They say when you remove the keystone from an arch, the whole thing falls. But I wasn't the keystone. I was the entire foundation. And the second I stepped away, the house of cards collapsed. And the cops didn't make it subtle. According to a long, furious voicemail from Mom, the police showed up at 7:45 a.m. She was still in her robe. Dad hadn't even had his coffee. Two officers, one male, one female. Professional but firm. "We're following up on a report of identity theft," they said. "A credit card was opened under your son's name. Over $4,000 in purchases were made, all traced back to this address. We need to know who had access." Mom's reaction? "There must be a mistake. We're a good family." Of course, that's always her line. The officers asked to speak with everyone in the home. Sienna Rhodes tried to slip out, mumbling something about work. They asked her to stay. She cracked in less than 5 minutes. "It wasn't really fraud," she stammered. "He always helps. I thought he wouldn't care." Mom jumped in instantly. "She's just stressed. She didn't mean to do anything wrong." But it was already too late. The officers took notes, recorded the entire conversation, even asked to see Sienna Rhodes's phone. That's when it spiraled. They found text messages. From Sienna Rhodes to a friend. "Used my bro's info again. Baudet on him. IDC. He's such a pushover, he won't even notice." It wasn't just fraud. It was planned, premeditated, and now it was evidence. Later that same day, I got a call from a detective assigned to the case. "We have enough to file charges. Would you like to proceed?" I asked for one day to think. That evening, my phone blew up. 27 missed calls. 41 messages. "Mom, Caleb Turneriel, please, we need to talk. It was just a mistake." She panicked. "She's still your sister." "Dad, don't ruin her life over this." Sienna Rhodes. "You selfish jerk. I'll lose my job, my apartment. You're doing this to your own family." Funny, I thought. No one said a word when I was the one losing pieces of myself for them. I waited the full 24 hours. Then I called the detective back. "Can we pause the formal charge for now?" He agreed, but made it clear. "This doesn't disappear. It just waits." That's when Mom made her move. She called, voice soft and smooth, like silk wrapped around a knife. "If you really want to fix this, come to the house. Let's talk face to face." Against every instinct, I went. And the second I stepped inside, I regretted it. Sienna Rhodes was curled on the couch under a blanket like she was the victim. Mom had that perfected, worried mother look. Dad didn't even stand up. "We just want to heal," Mom said gently. "We?" I asked. "We know you're hurting," she said. "But this is tearing the family apart." "No," I replied. "Sienna Rhodes did that." Sienna Rhodes's voice cracked. "I didn't think you'd actually go to the cops. Who does that?" "Someone who's finally had enough," I answered. Mom reached for my hand. "Let's make this go away. We'll pay you back. We don't need police." I looked at her. "Funny, because you didn't offer that before they knocked on your door." She pulled her hand back, like I'd slapped her. Then Dad finally spoke. "You're not perfect either. You think this makes you some kind of hero?" I met his eyes. "Number. It makes me free." And then I walked out. Again. But this time, for good. A week passed. Then came another call from the detective. "We received a payment covering the charges. Anonymous. But it came from a joint account under your parents' names. Do you still want to press charges?" I thought for a long moment. Then I said, "No. Not this time. But I want it on record. If she ever touches anything under my name again, I will press charges." He agreed. I hung up. And just like that, I was done. No more guilt. No more handouts. No more walking into rooms where I was invisible. Until someone needed their phone bill paid. I started fresh. Moved out of state 2 weeks later. Small town, quiet place, friendly landlord. Rent was half what I used to pay. I spent my first weekend building IKEA furniture and playing music I hadn't heard since college. Went grocery shopping. Bought only what I liked. I sat on my own couch with coffee and a book, and no one knocked asking for help. And for the first time in 10 years, I realized I wasn't responsible for anyone but me. But here's the twist. 3 weeks into that new life, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a check. The note read, "I don't expect you to forgive me, but thank you for doing what I never had the courage to. Miles." The check? For half the cost of the Lucas table dinner. I held it in my hands when I smiled. Miles didn't owe me anything, but he understood. He got it. As for the rest of them, I never heard from them again. Not for my birthday, not at Christmas, not even when Dad had surgery later that year. I found out about that through a distant cousin's Facebook post. And honestly, good. They finally learned what it felt like to live without me, and I finally learned how to live without them. People love to say, blood is thicker than water, but they always leave out the full quote. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. In other words, chosen loyalty is more sacred than shared DNA. I had to learn that the hard way. The last time I saw any of their faces was the day I walked out of that house. Folder in my hand, fire in my chest. Since then, not a single word. And that silence, at first it felt like punishment. Now, it feels like peace, like air. A few weeks ago, I ran into someone from back home, a girl I vaguely remembered from high school. We crossed paths in the checkout line at a Fix-It Depot. She looked at me and said, "Hey, didn't you used to be Sienna Rhodes' brother?" I paused, smiled. "No." Just like that. No guilt, no shame, no hesitation. Because I'm not Sienna Rhodes' brother anymore. I'm not the good son, not the bottomless wallet, not the guy who always shows up when everyone else disappears. I'm me, and for the first time in 32 years, that's enough. They thought I'd fall apart without them, that I'd come crawling back, that I needed their version of love. The guilt trips dressed up as concern, the manipulation masked as family bonding. But they were wrong. I don't need their Sunday dinners where I sit quietly while they toast themselves. I don't need their check-ins that are really just setups for requests. I don't need to explain to anyone why I changed my number, why I left without a forwarding address, or why I never showed up for Christmas. Let them wonder. Let them fumble through excuses. Let them explain my absence to the neighbors, to extended family, and to themselves. Because deep down, they know. They pushed me away, and for the first time in my life, I didn't beg to come back. You want to know the best part? They lost all their power the second I stopped begging for love and started demanding respect. People like that love to weaponize the word family, but the second you set a boundary, they throw words like cold, selfish, broken. But I'm none of those things. I'm just not theirs anymore. And Sienna Rhodes? She didn't lose her job. She didn't end up behind bars. But she did lose something, her mask. Now the entire family sees her for who she is. The lies, the manipulation, the cruelty disguised as jokes. Miles moved out. Aunt Joyce won't let her babysit anymore. Uncle Frank, who I hadn't heard from in years, called me out of the blue. Said her name is Mud at every gathering now. "You don't need to come back," he said. "They're the ones who messed up. We all see it now." But I told him what I'll tell you. It's not about who sees it. It's about who survived it, and I did. So no, I'm not going to pretend everything's fine. I'm not sending birthday cards. I'm not picking up the phone because I feel guilty. I'm not dragging myself to potlucks just so Mom can make jabs about how hard it is to keep families together. Because I'm not theirs anymore. And that's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I wake up now and it's quiet, not empty, just peaceful. I work. I keep what I earn. I eat what I want. I say no without apologizing for it. I don't flinch when my phone rings. I don't hold my breath around people who claim they love me. I don't shrink anymore. I'm free. Not because they let me go, but because I finally stopped waiting for permission. Let them keep their leftovers. Let them pass around old photos of me like I'm dead. Let them twist the story. Paint me as the villain. I'll still sleep just fine. Because here's the truth. When they slam that door on me, I didn't lose a family. They lost me. And that's the first bill they will never be able to pay off.